Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be tackling kind of a difficult subject,
Yeah.
the link between financial problems and suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something we often discuss openly,
Right.
but it's so incredibly important.
It is. It really is. It's something that we tend to brush under the rug a lot.
Right.
But the truth is, money and mental health are really closely connected.
Okay, so let's dive right in.
Yeah.
We often hear about these really widespread problems.
Yeah.
And we kind of think, oh, it only affects, a small percentage of people.
Right.
Is that the case when it comes to financial problems?
Not at all. Most people are going to struggle with money at some point in their lives.
Right?
In fact, a recent study found that 75% of American workers experience financial anxiety every single day.
75%, that's a huge number.
It is a really significant portion of the population.
So why is that? Is it just that people aren't earning enough money?
Well, income definitely plays a role, but it's not the whole picture. A big factor is something called financial illiteracy.
Financial illiteracy. What does that mean?
So basically, it means not having the knowledge and skills to make good financial decisions.
Okay.
So you might not know how to budget properly or save for the future or manage debt responsibly.
Right.
And this lack of knowledge can create kind of a vicious cycle where you make bad choices, and that just leads to more stress and anxiety.
Right. More anxiety, making it even harder to then make good decisions.
Exactly.
The snowball effect.
Yeah.
So if you're already in that place of financial anxiety, what kind of events could kind of push someone over the edge towards suicidal thoughts?
Well, you can kind of think of it like this. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with all of your financial worries.
Yeah.
You might be able to manage for a while, but if you keep adding more and more weight, eventually you're going to hit a breaking point.
Right.
And certain events can really add a lot of weight to that backpack.
Okay.
Things like a sudden job loss or going through a divorce, a major illness with unexpected medical bills, or even getting sued. Those are the kinds of things that can quickly make someone feel trapped with no way out.
Right. It's like the rug gets pulled out from under you.
Exactly.
And that makes me think about the 2008 recession as a really stark example of how a financial crisis can impact mental health.
Absolutely. In 2009, something unprecedented happened in the U.S.
Okay.
The number of suicides actually surpassed the number of deaths from car accidents.
Oh.
And a lot of research points to the economic turmoil of that time. All the job losses and foreclosures as playing a significant role in that tragic increase.
That's a chilling statistic. And it really highlights that economic crises are mental health crises. And when we talk about something like job loss, it's not just about the money. It can impact pretty much every area of a person's life.
It really can.
It's not just losing a paycheck.
Right.
It's a loss of identity and purpose and social connections.
Exactly. And studies have shown that people who lose their jobs often face long-term consequences.
Right.
They might have trouble finding a new job that pays as well, even 15 or 20 years later.
Wow.
The stress can also lead to physical health problems, like an increased risk of heart attack.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the psychological impact, loss of self-esteem, feeling worthless or like a failure,
Right.
social isolation. It's a cascade of negative effects.
So losing a job could be incredibly traumatic,
It can.
both financially and emotionally.
Yeah.
But are there any companies or organizations out there that are recognizing this link and taking steps to try and support their employees?
There are, and some are having real success. There was one company that implemented a financial wellness program for their employees.
Okay.
It included things like financial education workshops, one-on-one budgeting assistance, and even access to counseling services to help people deal with the emotional side of money stress.
That sounds incredibly helpful. Did they see good results?
They did. The employees who participated in the program reported feeling less stressed about their finances.
That's great.
They felt more in control of their money, and they just had a better sense of well-being overall.
So it benefited their mental and emotional health.
Yeah.
Did the company see any positive impacts?
They did. Actually, the program ended up being a win-win for both the employees and the employer.
Oh, wow.
The company saw an increase in employee productivity and a decrease in absenteeism, which is good for their bottom line.
That's really fascinating. It's a great example of how investing in employee well-being, including financial well-being, can be beneficial for everyone.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the process of assessing someone for suicidality.
Okay.
How well do the current assessment tools we use actually capture the role of financial problems?
That's a really important question. Some standard assessment tools might acknowledge that financial stress could be a trigger, but they often don't fully recognize it as a major risk factor in its own right.
So we're not doing a great job of evaluating this connection.
We need to do better.
So how specifically can financial stressors contribute to suicidal thoughts?
Well, imagine someone who's struggling with overwhelming credit card debt.
Okay.
Or medical bills they just can't afford to pay. Or someone facing eviction or foreclosure because they lost their job or had unexpected expenses.
Right.
Think about the despair of long-term unemployment.
Yeah.
The feeling of not being able to provide for yourself or your family. These are all situations where the pressure can become unbearable.
Right.
And lead to feelings of hopelessness.
It's like the pressure just keeps building and building.
Exactly.
And it's important to remember that financial stressors can also come from things like compulsive spending or a gambling addiction.
Right. These behaviors can create a vicious cycle where the financial problems get even worse and contribute to a downward spiral.
So it's really a two-way street.
It is.
Financial problems can both cause mental health struggles and be a consequence of them.
Exactly.
So it's really important for therapists and social workers and other mental health professionals to be aware of these financial risk factors.
They need to understand how to recognize them and how to integrate them into their assessments and treatment plans.
So what are some of the key financial red flags that mental health professionals should be looking out for?
Well, there are several important ones. Job loss is a major one.
Okay.
Any kind of significant reduction in income, whether it's due to unemployment or disability or underemployment.
Right.
Then there's the issue of crushing debt. This could be credit card debt, medical debt, payday loans, anything that feels overwhelming and impossible to manage.
Like you just said, that pressure just builds and builds.
Right. And housing instability is another critical factor.
Okay.
This could mean facing eviction or foreclosure or even homelessness. And as we mentioned before, behavioral issues like compulsive spending or gambling addiction can also play a role.
So really any situation where someone feels trapped by their finances and can't see a way out.
That's a serious cause for concern.
So it sounds like there's a real need for more awareness.
There is.
And sensitivity to these financial risk factors in the mental health field.
Absolutely. Financial well-being is such a crucial part of overall well-being.
Right.
And we need to start treating it that way.
This has been really insightful. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And I know our listeners are probably wanting to hear about what some solutions might be. What can be done to actually address these complex issues and provide support to people who are struggling?
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely dive into next. So we've talked about how these financial struggles can really have a big impact on mental health, even increasing the risk of suicide.
Right.
So where do we go from here? How can we address these issues and support those who need it?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
We've spent this first part of our deep dive really kind of exploring the problem. But now I'm curious about the solutions.
Okay.
What can we actually do to make a difference?
I think one of the most important things is to break down the stigma around both financial struggles and mental health challenges.
Yeah.
People need to feel comfortable talking about these things openly without shame or judgment.
Right. It's like everyone's suffering in silence.
Exactly. And that silence can be deadly.
So how do we break down that stigma? What needs to change?
Well, we need to create a culture where it's okay to admit you're struggling, whether it's with your finances or your mental health.
Right.
And we need to equip mental health professionals with the tools and the knowledge to actually address these issues.
So you're saying therapists and counselors need more training when it comes to finances.
Exactly. It's not enough to just recognize the signs of financial stress in a client.
Okay.
They need to understand how to assess the situation, how to talk about it with sensitivity, and how to guide the client towards resources and solutions.
So they need specific training on how to kind of integrate financial well-being into their practice.
Right. Imagine a therapist who not only listens to their client's emotional distress, but also asks about their financial situation, explores how those financial stressors might be contributing to their overall well-being, and then helps them connect with resources that can alleviate some of that pressure.
It's almost like taking a more holistic approach
Exactly.
to mental health care.
Yeah.
Recognizing that finances are a huge part of that.
They are, and there are some really practical steps therapists can take.
Yeah.
They can start by just incorporating questions about finances into their initial assessments, like asking about income, debt, housing stability, any recent financial shocks or changes.
So just trying to get a bigger picture of what's going on in that person's life.
Exactly. And it's not just about asking the questions, it's about really listening to the answers. Understanding the context, and picking up on those subtle cues that might reveal underlying financial anxieties.
Sometimes what people don't say is just as important as what they do say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And once a therapist has identified some potential financial stressors,
Okay.
they can start working with the client to brainstorm some solutions. This could involve connecting them with resources like credit counseling, debt management programs, or even public assistance benefits.
So it's about helping them feel empowered.
Right. Giving them back that sense of agency and control.
That makes me wonder, shouldn't there be more collaboration between mental health professionals and financial experts?
I completely agree. Ideally, we'd have these integrated teams where therapists, financial counselors, social workers are all working together to really address all of a client's needs.
It'd be like a one-stop shop for well-being.
Exactly. Having all those resources under one roof could make a world of difference for someone who's feeling overwhelmed and lost.
Yeah, just not knowing where to turn.
Right. It would be like a safety net.
I like that.
Catching people before they fall through the cracks.
Okay, so even if we don't have that ideal system in place yet, are there things individual mental health professionals can do to better support their clients?
Absolutely. Even small steps can make a difference.
Like what?
They can educate themselves about common financial stressors, learn about the resources that are available in their communities, and they can also advocate for policies and programs that promote financial security and stability.
So being proactive.
Right.
And recognizing that supporting clients' financial well-being is a part of supporting their overall mental health.
You got it. We need to start thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that financial well-being and mental health are connected.
This has been such an important reminder that we can't address mental health in isolation. We need to consider the whole person.
Right.
Their finances, their support systems, their environment.
Couldn't agree more. When we ignore the financial dimension of our clients' lives, we're missing a critical piece of the puzzle.
So we've talked about the problem. We've explored some solutions.
Yeah.
But what does the research say about how effective these interventions actually are?
Okay.
Is there evidence that addressing financial problems can reduce suicidality?
That's a great question, and to be honest, more research is needed. Right. However, there are some encouraging studies that suggest a link between improved financial well-being and a reduced risk of suicide. For example, one study found that people who participated in financial counseling and debt management programs reported lower levels of stress and anxiety.
That's great.
And also a decreased likelihood of having suicidal thoughts.
Wow. So these interventions can actually make a real difference.
They can.
Not just in people's finances, but in their overall mental health.
Exactly. And that really highlights the importance of investing in these types of programs and services. They're not just about dollars and cents. They're about saving lives.
It's not just about financial literacy. It's about financial empowerment.
You said it.
It's about giving people the tools and support they need to regain control of their lives.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to address these issues early on, before they escalate into a full-blown crisis.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
It has.
I have one last question for you.
Okay.
What can our listeners do in their own lives and communities to actually promote financial well-being and help prevent suicide?
That's a fantastic question and something we should all be thinking about. There are a lot of things we can do both individually and collectively to make a difference.
Okay, so we talked about needing more awareness and some bigger changes that need to happen. But what about on a more individual level? What can our listeners do in their own lives to promote financial well-being and help prevent suicide?
You know, there are actually a lot of things you can do. Even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Okay.
It all starts with taking care of your own financial health.
Okay.
So developing good habits like making a budget and tracking your spending and finding ways to save, even if it's just small amounts.
Right.
Also avoiding unnecessary debt and learning how to manage the debt you already have.
So kind of taking ownership of our own financial well-being is a good first step.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of knowledge.
Okay.
The more you understand about personal finances, the better prepared you'll be to handle the challenges that come up.
Right.
And there are so many resources out there to help you learn.
Like what?
You've got books and articles, online courses, workshops. You can even find free financial counseling services in many communities.
It seems like there's no shortage of information out there.
There really isn't.
If you're willing to look for it.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to become a financial guru overnight.
Right.
Just start small, learn one new thing each day, and gradually build up your knowledge over time.
It's like building any skill. The more you practice, the better you get.
Right.
So what about on a community level?
Yeah.
What can our listeners do to create a more supportive environment and contribute to broader change?
One really impactful way to get involved is to support organizations that are already working in this area. You know, there are all kinds of charities and nonprofits dedicated to providing financial education and assistance to people who really need it.
Yeah.
You can volunteer your time, donate money, or even just help spread the word about their services.
So helping those organizations that are already on the ground doing the work.
Exactly. And don't forget about advocacy.
Okay.
You can contact your elected officials and urge them to support policies that promote financial security.
Right.
You know, things like affordable housing initiatives, living wages, access to health care.
Yeah.
Those things can make a huge difference in people's lives.
So using our voices to push for those bigger changes.
Exactly. And then on a more personal level, just being there for others can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
If you know someone who's struggling financially, reach out to them. Let them know you care. Offer a listening ear.
Right.
Sometimes just having someone to talk to who doesn't judge can make all the difference.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing we can offer is just our presence and our support.
I agree.
So what if someone is actually experiencing suicidal thoughts?
Yeah.
Where can they go for help?
If you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out immediately.
Okay.
You can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.
Okay.
It's available 24/7.
247.
They're trained to provide confidential support and connect you with resources in your area.
That's a good one to remember, 988.
Yeah, and there are other great resources too, like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP. They both have really informative websites.
And offer support groups and other programs that can help.
It's so important to remember that you're not alone.
You really aren't.
There is help out there, and there's always hope.
Absolutely.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
It has.
We've learned so much about the connection between financial problems and suicide and explored a whole range of solutions.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a really important topic. Remember, you're not alone. There's help available, and there's always reason to hope. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.